Hello, this is a Mercenary spotlight on Calorone after her November 2021 rework. Caloron's story is that she looks cool and her companion looks less cool. Calorone is largely unchanged in her gameplay style, but significantly improved in most of her skills and stats. Since her mechanics are identical to how she was before, refer to my old video for a quick explanation on how distortion damage works, which is a core trait of Calorone's skill set. Let's move on with her skills. Calorone's first skill is Distortion Damage. This is a bestowal buff that occurs before battle and lasts for a good amount of turns. When Calorone takes damage, she will turn the incoming damage into a DOT that is inflicted onto her over time. This DOT will deal direct damage to her. This skill is functionally unchanged from her prior skill set, but sees massive improvements. She now takes far less damage over a longer period, but now the DOT deals direct damage instead of fixed. Calorone's second skill is Regeneration Barrier. Before battle, Calorone gains a long-lasting barrier that provides incoming damage reduction and healing every turn. Calorone's third skill is Cleverness. Before battle, Calorone gets a special bestowal buff that provides her with stat enhancements when she receives an enemy normal attack. These stat enhancements last for a very short duration, but will boost her crit rate and her crit damage by a large amount. This allows Calorone to be a bit more powerful when she has Cleverness activates, but also remember that her healing from her Regeneration Barrier can also crit, and she will heal a bit more as well. Calorone's awakening skill is Furious Strike. Calorone deals additional damage after normal attack that scales with the enemy's current HP. At plus 11, Calorone's Furious Strike will also heal Calorone based on the damage that she deals. Calorone is a defensive roadblock tank who can mitigate a lot of damage that comes her way. Her signature distortion damage allows her to mitigate any damage that isn't direct damage or DOTs. Whenever Calorone is hit, she doesn't take the damage immediately, she instead turns that damage into a DOT and pays it back over time at a huge discount. Calorone is very tenacious and difficult to kill with raw damage alone. Her Regeneration Barrier heals her for every turn and will heal back the damage that she takes from the damage that she distorts. This makes it so that the enemy has to reach a very high bar of damage dealt to eventually cause Calorone to start taking more damage than she is healing back. Calorone's preferred runes are percentage HP runes generally. In some matchups, defense can be flexed. As for Soul Gear Amulet layout, double percentage HP is preferred, but Calorone generally does her job fine, and tweaking or building her amulet isn't make or break compared to other characters where you really need to prioritize it. I'll go over what Calorone counters. Calorone takes very little damage and can survive high damaging hits that would be lethal otherwise on most characters. She is particularly good at surviving hits from Nartis, Dwen, Angelica, Lumen, Nerua, and Velfern. It's possible to overwhelm Calorone with the affirmation characters, but you need to amass a crazy amount of damage for it to begin dealing more damage than she is healing. Since Calorone's distortion damage is activated from the start, she can easily block as mode. I'll go over what counters Calorone. Direct damage cannot be mitigated by her distortion damage, but Calorone has insanely high health where only Taylor, Levia, and Alec can reasonably try to take her down in one shot. Victor, Cilion, and Valze are prone to just doing too little amount of direct damage to where it matters. Calorone also has no inherent immunities, and she can't distort DOT damage, so burns, decomposition, and bleeds are decent against her. Some good choices are Christina, Kyria, Gunther, Catherine, Slain, and Rogan. A decent budget option is also Neo, who surprisingly shares a good matchup against Lucius as well, making her solid for Guild War. You can also add incoming damage amplifications onto Calorone to make her easier to kill. Celia, Ymir, and Orfina are some examples. Calorone also has very little presence as an offensive threat even with her buffs. Her additional damage is reduced by both defense and incoming damage reduction, so many units can hold her off. So some Calorone synergies. Calorone's buff largely affects Letocrat, who for a brief moment saw a dip in usage because Angelica can cripple his original combinations. Letocrat would originally run Bane and Kaelin for a combo that would make him essentially invincible to everything that isn't direct damage. Angelica, however, throws a wrench into that by reducing all of his buffs to one turn, which can make him vulnerable again. What makes Calorone different is that Calorone's distortion damage activates before battle and is not a buff that is gained through battle like Bane's. Basically, a buff to Calorone is a buff to Letocrat, and the two work well together. Other synergies are less significant. Calorone fits on most teams just fine should you need a good roadblock tank. Pairing Calorone with Galania is nice as Galania provides DOT immunity. Florian and Albion can also lead to some funny results. Okay, so for my opinion, Calorone was always an interesting character, and it was a shame that her release was really unspectacular. I think the devs were really concerned about how powerful distortion damage could really be, and were hesitant to make her really strong. By tweaking all of her values and raising her base HP by almost double, Calorone is now decent. I think Calorone as a standalone unit is still mediocre. The improvement to her survivability is massive and allows her to hold the lane better, but Calorone still carries nearly zero offensive pressure. She could only kill units with 0 survivability traits, and I often see my Calorone fail to kill things like Victor or Lumen even. The unfortunate reality is that the buffs to Calorone may actually be a larger buff to Lettercrad than it is for Calorone. Calorone is a key component for Lettercrad to be able to better deal with Angelica. Calorone sees viability primarily in World Arena and Arena. Calorone is also great for Guild War and Guild War defenses. Her HP stat makes her a top tier unit in Transport World bosses, and her distortion damage is great tools for Evil Castle and campaigns. So the question begs, should you build Calorone? My answer is yes, but only if you really wish to continue running Lettercrad. As mentioned earlier, the Bane/Kaelin combo with Letta is not invincible anymore, but a new combination could be flexed in the form of Calorone/Banshina. This allows for your Lettercrad to be pretty consistent as a taunt tank so long as you can kill units, and still maintains a very high rate of survivability. If you have no interest in investing in Lettercrad or using him, then Calorone is just mostly okay. Standalone Calorone is still very useful for World Arena or Guild War, so you don't absolutely need Lettercrad. It's just that her skills are just so good for him to duplicate. One part that's kind of painful is that Caloron's distortion damage doesn't level up until it's plus 12 and plus 15. The rest of her skills don't really matter as much, which makes investing in her kind of tricky. She's actually pretty efficient at plus 0, but if you really wish to take advantage of her power, then the road to plus 12 and plus 15 is there to be taken. Overall, it's really refreshing to see Calorone finally not suck that bad. Her design is really cool and her concept is strong. It kind of says a lot about her design when all it took was some number adjustments to make her relevant again. She's probably the most unchanged character out of any reworked one, mechanic wise. They just tweaked her values and boom, she's good. And that's some pretty good magic, I guess. Thanks for watching my Calorone rework spotlight. Stay tuned for more.